Hi, my name is Stephanie Flint, and I am the co-creator of Infinitus Publishing, and today I am happy to announce that I have books. Lots of books. There's more books in here. This is Magic Stealing, and I'm planning on taking these to local bookstores, possibly trying to do a Goodreads giveaways, things like that. And in the meantime, I'm also going to go ahead and do a reading of Magic Stealing Chapter 6. I've been doing readings previously. And yeah, I just want to announce I have books. Oh, cool. That was probably really cheesy. Chapter 6. Hey, are you alright? Tirana opened her eyes to find Darnan kneeling beside her. Her head throbbed with every twist of the blazing ribbons flitting past her eyes, and Darnan's magic was even brighter than hers. The generally blue color of his ribbons were barely visible under their iridescent shimmer. He rested a hand on her shoulder. The pain eased from her head. Acolyte Kindra said that you passed out an hour ago. Feeling better? Not really. She tried to sit, but her muscles screamed and she collapsed back into a pile of stiff cotton. I didn't realize so many people had magic. Darren nodded. I took care of the people I could find. Come on, I'll get you home. He wrapped his arm around her shoulder and gently helped her sit. She winced. How are you still going? I use magic on a daily basis. I'd probably be dead if I'd lost it to Coprash. When's the last time you used your magic for an extended period of time? Tirana twisted her lips and rested her head against his shoulder. He had a point. Now all she had to do was breathe and regain her composure so she could stand without making a fool of herself. Probably wasn't going to happen. How do you plan on getting me to the manor? I brought your horse. No offense, but I'm not changing. There's going to be more people who need our help over the next few days. Did you find my family? Your parents were dazed. Siklana was... She wasn't doing well when I found her. Tirana sat upright. Is she okay? She's stable now, Darren said quickly. I used my magic to heal her, and then I turned into a horse and carried her to the manor with your father's help. I rode Starlight back here. Tirana flopped against him. Thank you. What about your mother? She doesn't use magic often enough for it to affect her. Smart lady, Tirana mumbled. Darren frowned. That's not something to be proud of. She's a good mage. She simply doesn't use her gifts. Why? Because her father once made a mistake with a spell then vanished? Tirana scowled. Your reason for not using magic isn't any better. Darren brushed aside the white patch of hair above his left eye. Anyway, let's get you home. He offered her his hand. Pain shot through her limbs as she forced herself into a standing position by the bed. Climbing into Starlight's saddle was not going to be fun. Still, she somehow managed to work her way to the front steps of the temple, where Starlight was tied to a nearby post. She crawled into his leather seat. The horse snorted and craned his head toward her. She smiled, stroking the white blaze on his pink, velvety nose. The blaze led to a star on his forehead, a stark contrast against his black fur. Ready? Darren asked. Tirana nodded, and he mounted Starlight behind her. She leaned against him, too exhausted to care if some nobleman called her improper. She'd just healed a lot of them. They had nothing to complain about. She closed her eyes and slept. A cloaked figure watched from the alley, careful to remain in the looming darkness. This half of the street was cast in shadow, courtesy of the orange burning flame of the setting sun. Shivanaji rubbed her fingers along the hilt of her knife. She had expected that once the stealing occurred she would need to supplement Darren's magic. But Darren and the young woman still had their magic. His father's doing, most like. She frowned. Darren might spoil the trickster's plan, but she couldn't kill him. She could never kill him. He wasn't the same as the Darren she'd loved, but he was far, far too close. As for Tirana, if Tirana got in the way, could she kill her? Possibly. Shivanaji brought her hood down over her eyes and opened a portal to the mountain forge. While Tirana and Darren were resting, Kafrash needed to attack Vinya. He only had a day, maybe two, before the young mages would recuperate. She took one last look at the silent street, then left the city behind as she strode through her portal and into the strange, shadow-cold sweat of the mountain forge. Tirana slept during the return trip. Darnan rode Starlight to the front door, and handed the reins to the greeter before helping Tirana to the ground. She leaned against him as he led her through the entrance. The manor was sticky hot. A fire flickered in the fireplace at the end of the hall, casting angry red light across the porches along the entrance. The heat assaulted her skin. Summer nights were already uncomfortably warm, especially this late in the season. Why did the servant stoke the fire? She coughed, lungs burning. Darnan brought her to the stairs. Up they went to the sleeping chambers, where thin smoke trailed above the two mages. Wicks burned with dim light, strange yellow flames that barely lit the hall. Tirana waved the oily smoke from her nose and sniffed. Crystals didn't work now. That's why the servants lit the fireplace, and why this terrible smoke filled the upper floor. She coughed again and gladly tumbled into her room. Darnan helped her to the bed, closed the door, and finally opened the window. Tirana pointed to the lamp at the edge of her dresser. "Matches are in the first drawer," she said. The glass bowl was decorated in patterns of the Chiron pantheon, and the glass glimmered around its amber-colored oil. The chimney was tall and favored a heavy curve at the base. On the nights Tirana was particularly paranoid of magic, she used the lamp, regardless of what her family might think. Darnan lit the wick and sat beside Tirana. "How are you feeling?" "Tired." She yawned. "You did a lot to help both the commoners and the nobles." He paused. "Thank you." A smile tugged at her lips. "Thanks for helping my family." He wrapped his arm around her shoulders and hugged her. "Of course. Do you want me to get you anything?" She shook her head. "I'm good." "All right," he said. "I'll be in my usual room tonight. You know where to find me." Tirana nodded absently as he helped her get comfortable in her bed and tenderly tucked the sheets around her. "I'll see you in the morning, okay?" And then what? She stared at the rafters, trying to comprehend everything that had happened. Magic was gone. As much as she hated the illusions that ribbons created for those who couldn't see magic, she liked the idea that someone had stolen magic even less. What might they do with it? What if more mages died? It's not like we can walk to the fire mage's door and ask for everyone's magic back. Darnan rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Maybe we can. Tirana scrunched her nose. How's that going to help? If we know why Kafrash stole our magic, we can report back to the guards. We still have magic. We'll see more than anyone else. He has more magic, Tirana pointed out. That's not a problem. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, if you feel up to it, we'll pay him a visit. I should be able to hide our ribbons from his sight, and then we can go invisible and spy on him. As long as he doesn't have string magic. Darnan grinned. He'll never know we were there. Tirana slipped deeper under her covers. A sickening feeling wormed its way through her gut. Only immortals could wield string magic, and even then, only a select few actually had that kind of power. What kind of man could steal everyone's magic and live?